Self-destructing tactical cubes left and right. It's V'ger Please, a hateful voyage to the Delta Quadrant. My name is Joseph.
And I'm your forgotten daydream love interest, Peter.
Before we launch into this week's installment, I believe we have some critical housekeeping to do, Peter, on a number of fronts. Are you prepared to take a side quest with me?
To unleash the bad news?
Well, that's not all bad news. It starts with actually somebody taking up my challenge from a review of Unimatrix Zero Part 1, which is explain why Tom Paris deserved to be promoted. And I cheated a little bit because I specifically asked Dr. Jack to weigh in, since he's usually provides such high quality takes. He specifically listed, here's the reasons why you would promote Harry Kim, and here's the reasons why you'd promote Tom Paris. And for Harry Kim, it was played clarinet until he played the saxophone. And then for Tom Paris, best pilot in Starfleet, master hologram programmer, pool shark, most qualified human medic on board, soup connoisseur, subspace geometry expert, jail yard tough guy, 20th century auto mechanic, Irish pub brawler, ate the last remnant of the Lusarian Empire, former Maquis mercenary, quantum warp theorist, exposed Jonas as a traitor, mated with the space elf, shuttlecraft survivor, led Talaxians against the Kazon, escape and evasion specialist, convicted murderer, convicted terrorist, convicted drug dealer, life coach, impassioned oceanographer, flight control officer, graduated in astrophysics, pulled a gat on Q and the Borg Queen, accomplished navigator, Dorada champion, skilled Klingon sex therapist, eco-terrorist, radiogenic sweepstakes coordinator, spacecraft designer, brazen test pilot, wizard Talaxian geography, plucky resistance fighter, professional mountain climber, hyper-evolved lizard gigolo, early sci-fi movie serial superfan, wooer of the Delaney sisters, and far superior to Nick Licardo. And that reminded me, of course, as Jack is eloquently putting, the reason you promote Tom Paris is he's a fucking Mary Sue that does everything.
The definition of Mary Sue. Move over, Wesley. He didn't even mention anything about Mars knowledge.
Yeah, random Mars mission knowledge. There's so many missed opportunities here.
Expert grease monkey.
No, that's on there. 20th century auto mechanic.
Oh, well. Fort Knox enthusiast.
That's true. Not on here.
Mm-hmm. A lot of those got to get cut off the list because they happened prior to Tom's demotion, and he should not be promoted for past deeds prior to his transgressions. What's next on the list?
There was a trailer for a show.
They're gonna cost us listeners already right into fucking beginning of season 7, man.
They call it Picard season 2. I'm not quite sure who this character is. We're not quite sure who this character is because we watched this series season 1, managed to crush our own listenership by hating it as much as we did.
And here we are flirting yet again with our numbers.
We'll say only this. I'm going to say only this. I know we both watched it. You quite hesitantly. If they hadn't already crushed all my goodwill, and John DeLance, that gets me, man. Q's back. I want it. I do. I want to want it.
Do you?
I do. I do want to want it. But
going into a trailer where the first thing Q does is say, "Picard, you look old and crusty," while he's there looking old and crusty. Here's what I'm gonna say. I'm gonna say it. Okay, this shit's 10 years too late. These guys are too old for this.
Yeah, agreed.
And there might be other impacts on quality and executive producer decisions that were made, but like, I feel like this is just too late in the game.
10 years too late is exactly correct. If this had been done in 2011, it would be a different show. There'd be a different energy to it. And you would not feel like everyone is just past their fucking buy date, like
it feels sad. It feels very pandering. It feels like, oh shit, Discovery has really put us in the fucking hole. Smash the glass and pull the handle. And let's sit on the Star Trek shit posting Facebook group and whatever people seem to gravitate towards, let's try and jam into this thing because we need eyeballs on this fucking franchise. And let me just say for the record too, like, I think fuck Q. People make such a big deal over Q. Q is this, there's Star Trek episodes and then there's Star Trek episodes with Q. It's like they almost don't exist in the same universe in terms of scope of what the plots do and the power curve. And it's hard to say that because the very first Next Gen episode is a Q episode. All Good Things is a Q episode. It's not some random fluke. It's not a threshold, right? Like, this is a part of Star Trek, but people gravitating towards it. Like, he's only been in a handful of episodes, like what, less than 10?
He's certainly not as big a figure as his presence seems to suggest in
Barkley's
terms
in
of.
more stuff.
It's true. However, I think you summed it up by saying TNG, the most beloved Trek installment, is essentially bookended by him, and he's used most effectively in those two appearances exactly, which is to say, and also when the first episode of the Borg are introduced, which is he is beyond what Starfleet can presently understand, and that's the point, because he is deciding to test humanity and Starfleet and their ambition to go beyond where it is that they are now. And those episodes, I think, fit into Trek really well. And the fact that he represents this sort of not like full on trickster spirit, but also something so beyond what they are. He's just extremely arrogant, but also has a purpose, that he's not doing this for no reason. That really, I think, connects with people, and which is why they really like you. It's why I really like you. Now, of course, you and I have suffered through some real Q related bullshit watching Voyager, which I think has maybe soured us to the concept overall. But try and just confine it to the context of TNG, which I think a lot of people have experienced Q in that way. He's much more interesting.
Well, I don't think it should be the focal point and something people get as I don't know. I don't give a fuck, man. I'm over Picard.
I am too. I'm not going to watch it, and quite frankly, my take on it is same as Discovery. I hope you guys like it. It's not from me.
Yeah, I do genuinely hope that anybody who is putting the time in there is able to get what they want out of the experience, and that it's able to make you happy.
And experiences that will make us happy will also include letting our folks know, our listeners,
here comes the bad news, everybody,
of what we're doing after we're done with Voyager. So here we are, it's season 7. We're gonna fire off our first season 7 review here in a minute or two. So we're getting to the end, man. Like, really, 26 episodes to go, and that's it. We're done. And of course, the question that's going to be on the mind of, well, at least a couple hundred people is, what are you going to do next? And if you didn't listen to our rep or for season 6, or at least through all of it, you may not have heard. We will be continuing doing a podcast. We're going to do a new show after this. It is going to be another Trek review show, and it is going to be on the truly forgotten great Berman era Trek entry.
You have the
and that is
thing ready to go.
I'll put it in post. Don't worry. Star Trek Enterprise. So I am a huge fan of this show. I think it is horrifically underwatched. I think that it just came after Voyager. It really left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth. It was very different. There were some things that were a little off-putting about it, and because of that, I think a lot of people missed on what might secretly have been a great show. And at the same time, though, one with enough bullshit going on that's going to make, I think, for a fun and engaging review podcast experience for both Peter and I to produce and for you to listen to.
I've never watched Enterprise. More importantly, I have never ever wanted to watch Enterprise. I have no warm place in my heart for this, and I am ready to give these motherfuckers both barrels. So
there'll be times where you'll need probably 4 more barrels on top of that. There's
Dumbo
some
Slayers.
Oh yeah, you're gonna need some 4-gauge stopping rifles. In the absence of that, though, we will endeavor to provide the highs and the lows and call the shots appropriately. And we will provide more details on what that show will look like, when it will come out, what it will be called, all that stuff later on. But we just want to make sure everybody
got half
knew.
a year, 26 That's 26 weeks of recording, not counting whatever else comes up.
Yeah,
Maybe some
breaks or
Christmas
stuff,
break.
all that. So, this is probably a early spring 2022 proposition, to be honest with everybody. But it's happening, and Peter and I are in to do that. So don't worry, we won't leave you hanging. But first things first, Peter, what did we watch this week?
Speaking of hanging, these cliffhangers, season 7, episode 1, Unimatrix Zero, part 2. Joe, I want you to go back in time for me to October 4th in the year 2000.
Okay, I'm there. I'm probably working at a discount movie theater at the Forest Fair Mall. Go on.
I guess we should probably jump back to wherever Unimatrix Zero premiered. Like, it was a shock ending, right? Like the plan to go in and try and introduce this virus to help Borg rebels, ending with Janeway getting assimilated. I think it was pretty clear from Chakotay's actions on the bridge that this was an intentional assimilation and this is part of the plan. Do you remember where Unimatrix Zero Part 1 left you feeling as a fan way back in the year 2000?
Everyone knew that Voyager was going to end after 7 seasons. That was published and known news. Brandon Braga is no longer the showrunner for season 7 because he's pre-producing on Enterprise. Like, what Enterprise is going to be about is already getting into the news. Okay? So it's not like there was any tension of like, oh, like what's going to happen when the next season starts. Of course, like our heroes will survive, right? I don't think I felt a second of any kind of actual um, tension over where this was left. By the way, have you have a guess as to who the showrunner is now for season
No.
7?
Who'd they? Oh, was it going to be your friend and mine, Kenneth Bewilder?
Kenneth Bewilder, baby.
Hmm.
Season 7 is his baby. And there are some bewilders. There's some random thoughts that are before us.
A season of bewilderment.
Yes, not. I will say, we have a lot to look forward to. Kenneth delivers in many ways here, in ways that maybe Braga was a little uneven, to say the least. Season 6, season 5, I
Season
think
sucks.
we season 5 had enough high points that we kind of forgave its low points. Season 6 did not did not have timeless in it, and therefore did not get the same level of forgiveness.
Yeah,
So
no.
yeah, I remember like, okay, whatever, this will probably get resolved in the fall, so I'll watch that then.
So
It
there was
did.
no suspension of disbelief that, hey, maybe Janeway and company is not going to make it through this Borg assimilation unscathed.
Yeah, like, and it's funny, I don't know if it was weird that I didn't think that, considering some triggers did get pulled in DS9. Like, so like characters died in that, didn't make it. So maybe that should have been something on my mind, but it just wasn't.
Janeway's turn to camera assimilated. They're trying to tap that best of both worlds card
They are,
again,
and
right?
I think maybe that the fact that they were hitting that pipe a little hard right in front of you is maybe why I didn't care. I'm a jaded teenager at this point, man. Like my hackles are up. I'm not buying it. I don't have that wide-eyed wonder when I was watching TNG on a frizzy tube TV trying to get my UHF channel where I could find it.
Well, I mean, again, I think in Next Gen, they killed Tasha. Riker as a reluctant captain certainly felt feasible. Like, maybe they were going to write Patrick Stewart off. Like, there was a real chance that, geez, these Borg are no fucking joke. Like, what are they going to do? Like, there's a chance. But unfortunately for the viewers at home, here in October 4th of the year 2000, the Borg are a fucking joke.
They really are.
They are clowns, and they are in a very sad state of affairs. So, yeah, where we left off in Unimatrix Part 1, very clearly everybody's just going to ice skate their way through whatever's happening over there, and we're going to be right back to homeostasis.
Before we bag on this one too hard, couple nice things to say. One, this episode moves. There's not a lot of wasted time aside from a extremely poor romance subplot that we already fucking hacked to bits 2 weeks
Fucking
ago.
yuck. Yes.
Yeah, like terrible. I'm not going to waste too much more time complaining about it because we already did. Aside from that, though, this has got a lot of meat, no fat. You know, they've got the story and they're telling it, and it felt like it moved. I liked the concept of the makeup looked good for the Borgified Voyager members, especially on B'Elanna. Like hers was really cool. The way that the Borgified Klingon look, I like it. It was a nice mix.
Let's talk about that real quick because we did get a little glimpse of it at the end of the other one. I am so sad that nobody got their arm cut off and replaced with like a Borg dildo arm.
Right?
Like, how
No
lucky.
pizza cutter arms.
How lucky of everybody involved that they just got some crap glued on their face, put in their Borg pajamas, and since these are main cast members, they also actually got a vest. They're not just in the skin tight Borg wetsuit. I don't get it. The Borg looked so simple but good in Next Gen with the white cake makeup and tubes everywhere. They looked fucking terrifying in First Contact, and just every time we see the Borg in Voyager, I think the costumes just fucking suck, man. The people who play Borg, they get dudes that just move silly and dumb, like the one.
They said like they're extras in a fucking Devo music video.
Yes,
yeah,
perfect way to put it.
Yeah,
it's awful. The whole experience is awful. Queen looks good. They're reusing the costume from.
I honestly do think that B'Elanna's exact look worked really well because of the way they did everything from the shoulders up, and that's where the camera was focused for her. So I didn't like focus on the like vest kind of crappy bodysuit, but the everything going on here and the fact that she had the weird voice thing installed, that was good. That was good. Like that piece was good.
Was that good, or is that just Roxanne Dawson's good and she made it work?
She can make hard to know the difference.
She can make the B'Elanna headpiece work as well as she does. Maybe she can just make this fucking shitty year 2000 Borg crap.
Roxanne Dawson is such a good actress that she made us forget that her eyebrows weren't real. I mean, there you have it. Just never crossed my mind those weren't real.
Did she ever get an Oscar for that?
An Emmy. It would be an Emmy. It's TV. Come on, man.
Well, listen, I would say that the lifting she does there transcends the small screen to the silver screen. So we open up with, and this is the only time I'm going to say it, a pretty cool interior shot of the Borg cube that they are on. We're panning through some catwalks. For the first time in a long time, a cube has felt menacing and sinister and busy. Drones walking around everywhere. Sadly, the closer we zoom in, the more and more laser tag arena things devolve into.
You can almost hear Derudi's sandstorm in the background.
Mm-hmm. And eventually we find our stranded crewmates. It's Tuvok and it's B'Elanna. And they're just talking to each other in their normal talky voices with their mouths moving. The vile curse of assimilation, scourge of the Federation, has now been completely shithoused by the Voyager crew member as they've just gotten assimilated with no fucks to give.
Apparently, the Doctor is so good at his job, he has found a way to defeat assimilation. Evidently, it is supposed to be temporary, and as we will find, also not perfect, but also pretty amazing that they managed to find an antidote to getting assimilated. This is the Voyager OP stuff I was talking about a few weeks ago. Like, this episode is just filled with Voyager just being a little too fucking cool for their own good in terms of clowning on the Borg and kind of making them feel trivial. to remind everybody, the cube that our heroes are stuck on, and that will ultimately kind of be the major kind of set piece for the episode, is not like a normal Borg cube. The kind of Borg cube that's capable of devastating Earth's, of all of the Federation's Starfleet, even in, the current era, the post uh, Wolf 359 era, after they've developed all kinds of new ships and anti-Borg weaponry and quantum torpedoes, right? Like, one Borg cube is still good enough to, like, press them to the limit. This is a tactical cube with cube armor, and Voyager is by their fuck self. And they fight them successfully
Twice.
twice. 2 times. They helped the second time. A little bit of help. We'll talk about that. But still, twice. They go up and they just don't get absolutely, like, smacked down. Insane.
Here's what I need. I need for these guys not to be Borg. I need 2 strains of Borg. I need
Borg.
scary, badass Borg from Next Gen and First Contact, and I need those Borg to have been eradicated with the death of the Queen. And I need Buster Borgs. I need BBs. I need Proto Borg, Borg's simple yet friendly cousins, the Morg. Just something to recalibrate the power scale here. So, as you've just illustrated, one Federation deep space research vessel doesn't seem so absurd it's going the distance. Like,
speaking of the Queen, can we discuss the Queen? Like,
sure.
as a concept in Trek, just real quick.
Okay, so when you say the Queen, I think a person who is in charge at the top, who may or may not have died in First Contact.
The Queen's supposed to be dead by now, and here she is. And I had posited the theory that the Queen is not specifically linked to, like, one specific form, but is a gestalt representation of the consciousness that can form literally at any place and be given a form and a body to inhabit based on wherever it wants to manifest, right? Which
Sure.
would beat the idea that you could really kill it. You're really just
Cerberus.
Yes. It's a beast with many heads, and it will just simply grow into another one. I read all of the available material from the writers about what the Borg Queen is supposed to be, and evidently, and this is according to Ron Moore, who wrote the Queen with Braga for First Contact. Okay, the intention was that she was a literal person. Like, this is a person. They were assimilated, and this person was so talented at sifting through the voices of the collective that they rose to become its queen. So this is a person.
Was a person. And to be
Right.
clear, the Battle of Sector 001, that took place in 2373, and Unimatrix Zero Part 2 takes place in 2377. So that's what, 4 years later?
Right.
Okay. The Queen has died, and the collective has now decided that before, the Queen was kind of a fluke and an exploit, but it had a good use, so now we're going to promote a new Queen.
What led me to think that it was the Gestalt thing was the concept from First Contact, because she specifically says in that movie, because Picard feels like he's met her before on the cube that was destroyed at Wolf 359, or after Wolf 359, and it's like, how would you still be alive? And he's like, you think in 3 dimensions. So there's like, oh, okay, so, like, this transcends consciousness, space-time, and all that. No, apparently the writers did not intend that. This was actually a specific person. And the dialogue in this episode, the reason I bring it up, is the dialogue in this episode that the Queen has with the kid in Unimatrix Zero suggests she's a specific person that was assimilated.
Yeah.
which does not make sense.
No, it doesn't. It's stupid. And we're gonna teleplay by Bran Braga, Joe Manowski, store by Mike Sussman, Bran Branagh, Joe Manowski. I mean, the Borg should have been retired a long time ago. They have not been. They're milking it for all it's worth because I think these Borg episodes are the best way that Voyager showrunners have to dig the fans out from underneath their rocks and put eyeballs on screens. It's an emergency maneuver. It doesn't make sense. I think the lady they've got portraying her continues to do as good of a job as the bad set pieces around her allow. And again, if it was the Morg or the Dorg or anybody else, and she was their leader, I'd say this is great. But she's just queen over the very awful Borg left behind, and the whole thing feels bad, man.
What also feels bad is that Tom and Chakotay are still on Voyager trying to make the world's worst seeming mission work, which is that they've purposefully allowed Janeway, Tuvok, and Torres to all be assimilated so they can infiltrate a supercube to upload a virus that is going to allow all of the drones that have the mutation and allow them access Unimatrix Zero to retain those memories and start a, a revolution, a rebellion against the collective itself by being able to retain their individuality. A neat idea, as we said 2 weeks ago. And I do believe that where this episode works, it is in exploring the concept of this subsection of drones being able to retain their personalities and trying to fight the collective from within.
I will say that the plan. I don't like the fact that they kind of shrug off assimilation and it's no big deal now. But the Doctor having 7 of 9 there to kind of help him cheat the system does ease things on that. Now, this whole cockamamie scheme boiling down to Janeway wants to create strife and harm the collective, right?
Correct.
Which is a legit Starfleet move.
In the blind, absolutely. 100% worth it.
The Chaev directive is destroy the Borg at all costs, Jean-Luc. No more of this Hugh Mercy bullshit. You got a chance to deal a killing blow, you do it. Now, this does not compute with Voyager because Janeway has single-handedly spared the Borg's lives at least twice, if not 3 times. And okay, so we want to fuck the Borg up and introduce a virus. Great, cool. Hey, we've got no less than, I believe,
3 bioweapons. 3.
Well, let's go through it. There's the Tron Turds virus that creates the multiple personality disharmony explosion, right?
Well, there's the two actual bioweapons, one from the Tron Turds, one from Crowley and his wife. The other bioweapon is species 8472 themselves, who are essentially a bioweapon onto their own, that were shithousing all of the collective.
Who they've got really swell relations with at this point.
Yeah, they're just buddies now, right? They're able to have a nice, normal conversation. But, at the time, Cass got bad fifis from one of their Marines. So, they had to strike a deal with the entire collective to do their dirty work for them.
So between the Tron Turbs and Echeb specifically, you've got 2, we can fuck everything up real hard right now, bioweapons to deploy, but they want to go through, I don't know, Borg Lives Matters protests to try and destabilize the collective and cause strife that way, which is already a head scratcher, and it's just going to get scratched even more the deeper we go into this thing.
One thread I liked on Voyager during this episode is Tom, thanks to the fact he was given a unworthy promotion a few hours earlier, is back to now being the next in line to command the vessel since Tuvok's off the ship, and so he is now Chakotay's first officer. And he brings it up like, hey, bud, guess what? Everybody else is gone. So you stuck with me, and your plan sucks. I hate it. My girlfriend's in trouble. It's awful. Like they have a conversation that reminds me of a lot of like earlier season stuff. I think mostly season 1, season 2, when new Jack Neelix and Captain Tom were attempting to negotiate on behalf of the ship. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And that sort of thing. Like there was a lot of these like flashes of Tom in a position of authority, kind of not giving enough of a fuck yet, like trying to treat it seriously. That had a lot of promise that they never really delivered on. We get a little
Mm-hmm.
bit of it here. Get a little bit. Like, yeah, Tom's back in the mix now. He's not Ensign Tom anymore. He's Lieutenant Junior Grade Tom. You know, and he's gonna say what he wants because you know he is the jail. He is the jail yard bully.
Chakotay says, yeah, listen, I get what you're talking about here, but we're going to give the plan time to bear fruition, which is foolish because it is such a suicide mission that the notion that they would still be together and recoverable hours past the first intended communication point is kind of silly, but Voyager certainly has had better luck in rougher spots. We start flipping into Unimatrix Zero and getting into the real low points of this episode, which is 7 of 9 exploring her feelings for her summer boyfriend.
Barf.
So bad. You got a Klingon general in there who's like trying to be an intermediary and follow your feelings and all this other crap. And I just can't watch any of this stuff without actively wishing that it was her struggling to deal with the remnants of a relationship with her father and all the great story that there could have been to tell there. And instead, we're getting dragged into this fucking summer fling deal.
Yeah,
This
instead of
time,
Magnus Hansen, it's 7 of 9 having to deal with her leftover emotions of a dirty con hookup from 5 years ago.
and
You
then you
know,
start
like,
dragging in the
not interested.
doctor, and all of a sudden the doctor's back in his I love you mode and wistfully looking over his shoulder. And it's like, listen, dude, I seem to recall back in season sucks, you ready to bail on her and go wear your clown outfit and sing for the asshole people of
tiny, the tiny assholes.
Komar or whatever. So like you can take your puppy dog eyes for 7 of 9 and shove them up your holographic ass. Like just
You do get a good shot of Korak, the Klingon, who will become MVP of this episode shortly, with a Herodian who had been apparently assimilated along the line,
yeah,
which is like, oh, yeah, I guess that probably happened, right? Like, a Herodian
sure.
probably got by the Borg somewhere.
I mean, what a great find. Those Herodian, excellent breeding stock. I wanted to see some fucking Vidians up in there, man. How good would that have been?
Oh, yeah, like, see a Vidian, but they're like in Unimatrix Zero, they're not all fucked up.
We're in season 7. This is the home stretch. What an opportunity for them to have rolled out every fucking unique species they've introduced, from shitheads to the Cleveland Bromar, Vidians, Skevians, you name it. Like if we encountered it, Kazon. Well, no, not Kazon.
Trust me when I say they availed themselves of the opportunity to actually do exactly what you're talking about. It just won't be this week.
Well, good, because I would like to see the old faces one last time before we get through
Oh,
all
you
of this.
will. Like, so Voyager has an episode in season 7 that is a clip show, but a good one because it's not actually a clip show. It's very well executed.
Cool.
I'll leave it at that. When we get there, you'll know.
Cool. Instead, I'm stuck in Unimatrix Zero, dealing with the leftovers of Seven's old life.
The big plot line on the cube is that while apparently Janeway and Torres are fine resisting assimilation given the doctor's anti-Borg juice, Tuvok's not so lucky. Despite being the most mentally disciplined out of the trio, or one would assume, he is starting to fall prey to the whispers of the collective, and they are on the clock to try and upload this virus to the central plexus of the supercube, because if they can get it into the central plexus, it will allow all of the drones to free themselves and start their rebellion.
Hey, Joe, by any chance, Is the central plexus another cheap Spencer's Gifts doodad?
By George, is it a plasticky piece of shit? Yes, it is.
I mean, come on, man. Like, so the central plexus in this is like one of those mirrors with little LED dot lights, and it does the trick where there's another mirror behind it, and it creates infinity dots, which looks cool when you're in a mall looking
And,
at it
and you're
next to some
13.
plastic poop. But when you're trying to parade this thing that's very clearly an off-the-shelf retail toy as the epitome of Borg technology, like,
It's not good, guys. It's not good.
no, it looks perfectly at home in the laser tag arena that is a Borg tactical cube.
So the big revelation is while Torres is able to upload the virus once they do get to the plexus while time is ticking, Tuvok trying to like focus his mind, remember his kids, remember where he was born. It eventually fails him and he subsumes into the collective. And that is when we find out that apparently Tuvok underwent tactical training from Chakotay himself. Did you know that? Because he just gives Torres this backhand that literally knocks her out of the episode for 30 minutes. Like, I don't know how else to describe it. Like, so he goes rogue. I'm now a Borg. I'm going to stop you all. Janeway and Torres try to escape. He like corners Torres and Torres tries to get away and he just like rips a backhand right across her face. And then Torres is just not in the episode after falling out of frame.
He backhands her so hard you hear the $6 million man no when he blasts her.
It's they have her go down from this massive backhand and you're like, what happened to Torres? And then the question is not answered until she just shows back up in the last 8 minutes. Like, I'm gonna press up some computer buttons so we can get out of here. Like, where were you? Did they capture you? Did they do things? We
Have
don't
you been
know.
hiding in the vent?
Yeah, like, were you doing some fucking Solid Snake shit?
She's like, all you need to know is that I don't get along with AI, and for all intents and purposes, Borg are like AI, so they victimized me. And I was down for the count. Tuvok's
it's like they
doing
just like slapped her and then they just left her there. Like,
yeah,
job's done.
Knock
like,
the fuck out on the hallway. People are stepping over or stepping on her hair.
Sorry, I need to go regenerate.
Tuvok's trying to do this thing where he's sitting there and like remembering details about his past to help him hold on to his identity. And he's remembering where his kid's born and where he's born and the first ship he served on and this and that. Also, he's apparently remembering all of his security access codes from work. Because as we will eventually...
Jesus fucking Christ, Peter.
This is the stupidest thing I think I've seen anybody in Star. Hey guys, you're gonna go off on this kamikaze, really suicidal mission for some real dubious reasons. We all know how dangerous it is. We're gonna send you off. You're gonna go to the collective, and we know you're gonna get assimilated. And we've got like some, I don't know, a piece of Velveeta cheese we're laying over your forehead that's supposed to staff off the assimilation, but it might not work. It's so dangerous. Ooh, hey, we're in the Delta Flyer flying away from the Voyager on the beginning of this mission. And do you think Tuvok's like patting his pockets down looking for his keys? He's like, what'd I forget? What if, oh shit, I forgot to change all the codes.
I'm at a loss, right? Like, let's create this incredibly detailed and intricate plan. We're going to allow ourselves to be captured by a race of cyber zombies whose main identifying well-known trait is that they're going to force your brain into their collective brain and know all of the things that you know. Like, there's so many things we don't know about the Borg, but the one fucking thing that we know for sure that they know how to do, and they're really good at it, is taking your brain putting it into their collective consciousness, and then using anything you knew against you. That is the very first thing that you ever establish about the Borg in all of Trek. It's the one thing the Federation knows without a doubt. You come up with this plan, and then no one thinks to themselves, what should we, maybe we should change the locks just in case one of them gets captured, because then they'll know our, like, shield frequency. That would be bad,
Joe,
right? You wouldn't want that.
do you remember that time the Borg assimilated Jean-Luc Picard and they had Locutus a Borg?
Yeah, and they like wrecked all the ships at
Because he
Wolf
knew about Wolf
359.
359 and like he just fucked him. Too bad Janeway didn't know about that.
Yeah,
She must have missed that memo.
It's a shame no one on Voyager reads. They have to take their hooked on phonics classes. They're way behind on reading comprehension.
Henceforth, there shall be no more interactions with Fairhaven. Everybody must instead read a book. So Chakotay decides, hey, we're going to swing by and we're going to see what's up with this cube. Tom, you want to get on board? Yeah, cool. We fly in there. Hey, they shot one photon torpedo at us instead of just blasting us with, like, you know, everything a tactical cube's got. And it ripped through our shield and it blew up. Oh my God, they've got our codes. How could we not remember to change our codes? Insert the past 15 minutes of joking around about how bad Tuvok is. Get us out of here. All right, we're out.
Yeah, like somehow this tactical cube is not able to take advantage of the fact that Voyager is literally defenseless and immediately destroy them, and instead allows them to simply escape with, you know, a little scorcher on the saucer section.
No,
they gotta buff that out. That out. It's fine.
A little ding.
Yeah. They've suffered worse.
Janeway's captured. She gets stuck in a prolonged phone call with the Borg Queen where the Queen's like, hey.
But she gets a cool Zoom background so they don't have to keep paintball crew in that fucking makeup every day. Yeah. Like, that's too much effort, and I'm the star of the show. I will not be wearing that makeup. I will instead be in my Starfleet uniform. Mm-hmm. Thank you very much.
Purple turtleneck. You're going to help me, or else. And then the or else is quite a doozy.
Yeah, so the virus worked. We should make that clear. Like, the Queen starts to panic. Like, I can't feel people. This is weird. And
not 1, not 10, not 50. Thousands. I feel so bad for that one dude who, like, comes out of the dream working right next to the Queen. Like, what?
Can you imagine? Like, finally, our liberation is at hand. I must establish, and you, like, look over and there's the boss. You're like, fuck. Like, couldn't be anywhere else.
Should have taken that blue pill, dude. What a fuck you, man. Wow. What are the odds? What are the odds? It's 1 in how many million drones?
Trillions of drones. Yeah, 1 in a million drones. There's trillions of drones overall. Whatever. Doesn't matter. You're that guy who's like, she's right behind me. Is it she? Like, damn it.
So he gets killed, and then his body gets dragged in front of Janeway, and she's like, look at what you've done, Janeway. You're responsible. His blood's on your hand, and, you know, I can't stop this rebellion, so I've got this dastardly plan where I'm going to start taking all of these innocent, happy, peaceful cubes and spheres and tactical cubes. And there's one drone I can't detect, but I don't know which one it is. So I'm going to blow the whole cube up. And then Janeway's like, clutching her pearls.
You monster.
My God, you monster. Here I am trying to create a fucking insurrection in the Borg collective and try to take down Starfleet's mortal enemies, and you're blowing up entire fucking cubes, and suddenly I give a shit. Like, what? Hard stop. What?
Right. Why would Janeway greet that with anything but glee? Like, so you mean to tell me that my plan is so awesome and is working so well, and has you so freaked out that you are just freely exploding your own cubes to destroy...
Cubes that brought us to our knees twice.
Yeah. A single cube, again, a super weapon onto which it requires maximum effort for us to defeat. you are just going to start blowing up willy-nilly because there's 3 drones on it you can't detect. And your intention is to blow up every Borg ship that has a drone you can't detect on it.
Within the course of this conversation, that is approximately 68 seconds, you've blown up 4 craft, totaling millions of drones destroyed. Like, what this needed was Janeway like looking in horror with her mouth agape, like, oh my god, no. And like this cut to like her looking at the camera like, holy fucking shit, is this queen this fucking stupid? Oh my god, forget about the virus. If I just sit there and go, no, no, and just blowing more and more cubes up.
Yeah, just like keep selling it.
Oh god, no. Please don't do the tactical cubes closest to.
Yeah.
Oh no!
Oh no! All 10 of those spheres. No, you have to spare them. You have
No.
specifically those 10 spheres.
That was my favorite sphere. No. Like, what the fuck? You know, now, had this been the Morg, the lovable, simple-minded,
Simple Borg, yeah.
golden-hearted cousins of the Borg, the ones you could feel sorry about, that weren't really scary, you could just slap fight your way out of any encounter with them and clown easily with one starship, then I could understand Janeway being like, no, come on, the Morg aren't that big of a problem. But the Borg, which these are the Borg, right? I mean,
They are.
they're acting
They
like
are.
Morg, but
Right.
I think these are actually Borg. You know, the ones that like assimilated God, what was his name? The fucking one we loved. And he gets him with the honeypot starship and goes, surprise, bitch, you actually got my entire civilization.
It was
RoboCop guy.
No, it wasn't RoboCop guy.
Yes,
That
that's
was
RoboCop guy.
Ray Wise. Ray Wise isn't RoboCop guy.
Yes, he is.
Is Ray Wise in RoboCop?
RoboCop. He's one of fucking Boddicker's henchmen, dude. Yes, Ray Wise is absolutely in RoboCop. All the good guest stars in Voyager are RoboCop alumni.
Yeah, he was. You're right.
Twin Peaks. Yes, I know my RoboCop, dude.
I obviously thought of him more as Leland Palmer than RoboCop.
He's a RoboCop guy.
Anyway, yes. It started with an A. His character name, like Arturus.
Yeah.
Arturus. Yeah, that guy was great.
All these people that Janeway's condemned to getting assimilated, all the times this is one of the most grossest mishandling of Borg continuity possible. I mean, this was a showstopper for me that throws this entire episode right in the fucking trash. I get her not deploying the viruses, but like her showing any fucks whatsoever about the Borg Queen wantonly destroying millions of drones casually time after time again, like that, putting legitimate pressure on Janeway. Like, who wrote this again? Is it 2 no names? No, it's fucking Bran Braga and Joe Manowski. What the fuck? All that stuff you read before about the Queen and like, how could there be a Queen if the Queen is one person? That lack of continuity is a fucking molehill compared to this Mount Everest of what the fuck is going on right now.
We do understand what's going on when Seven goes back to Unimatrix Zero, which is she has her perfunctory makeout scene with her dirty con hookup. Whatever.
Who we find out is patrolling the fucking borders of fluidic space.
On the other side of the galaxy. They're never going to meet, you know?
Good. Thank you.
The much better scene in Unimatrix Zero is when one of the kids meets the Queen.
So, yeah, Janeway... Borg Queen's like, listen, you're going to help me knock this Unimatrix bullshit out, or I'm going to keep blowing up cubes, which apparently you care about. And then Janeway's like, well, why don't you go do it yourself? You want to be a diplomat? You want a diplomat? You go into Unimatrix Zero and see how you like it in there. Maybe that'll change your mind.
And she goes in and meets one of the children that we met in part 1. And when she does, has like some interesting dialogue, kind of like that conveys the Queen's origins, like I was talking about before. That would be cool if it didn't I'm not trying to be too harsh on it. Like, if it didn't contradict kind of some of the established canon, the idea that the Queen was someone that was assimilated, but for whatever reason kept her individuality and became the representative of the Gestalt consciousness. And that is something that the Borg evolved to have because it needed it. Like, there's meat on that bone that I would love to see them have fleshed out a little bit more. Especially in the way she relates to the kid and like talks to the kid the way that a parent would talk to the kid, like a mother or a queen would talk to one of their subjects. It was interesting.
This is the best scene of the episode. It's the only redeeming part in my mind. Um, my favorite line is assimilation turns us all into friends. And it calls to question again, thankfully, to my knowledge at least, the unexplained origin of what are the Borg. Was the Borg a enlightened species that got a little too crazy with cyberspace and installing implants and mutated into this zombie collective? Was the Borg a weapon employed to go in and infest solar systems? Was it a way to subjugate conquered foes and turn them into subservient robots?
Was it something that happened gradually and was a kind of corruption that set in over time?
Sure. Was it intentional? I mean, great what ifs, and thank you, God, for that question. Do they ever answer the question?
No.
Good. Thank you. I mean, that there needs to be some unknown. You can't fully splat book these guys out. And I think that this scene with the Queen really does a great job of reminding the viewer that the Borg do not see themselves as bad guys and that they do just want to bring peace and perfection and harmony to the universe, but they go about it in a very vicious and monstrous way because they've lost perspective.
So after that, the Queen hits Janeway with the prospect that they're going to reverse engineer the virus to immediately kill all of the drones that have the Unimatrix Zero mutation. And that is supposed to have been what was successful to convince Janeway to acquiesce to her demands and order Chakotay to uh, uh, get the Unimatrix Zero residents to submit themselves to re-assimilation. But of course, it's a hours turn into days, hours turn into days moment from Star Trek 3, the speaking in code thing. So that was something they did it was in Star Trek 2, it was Wrath of Khan, where to hide their damage on Enterprise, Spock speaks in code to Kirk of that they're more crippled than they actually are, which Kirk correctly interprets through the code, which allows them to eventually beat Khan. Anyway, what Janeway says is Unimatrix Zero can no longer exist. And Chakotay's like, got it, boss. And Seven's like, we can't give up. She's like, that's not what she said. She said it can't exist. We have to blow it up so the Queen can't succeed. Come on, let's do this. Like, I understood what she was saying. Where you at, Borg lady?
And we've
Like,
seen it a couple
on.
of times. This is a time-honored tradition in Star Trek is the captain is at the mercy of a foreign menace, and read between the lines. You and I are on the same page, and now we're going to do the thing. We're going to spring the trap. So that was pretty cool. They start running, a disk format on Unimatrix Zero. They come up with this purge code, but how are they going to distribute it, Joe?
Well, fortunately for them, while Tom is on the bridge, a transwarp conduit opens and a Borg vessel approaches, and they go to battle stations. But luckily for them, it is not a Borg vessel filled with apparently normal drones. This is a Borg vessel with the one and only General Korok, the Klingon that we have seen throughout these two episodes, who was on a sphere that apparently had enough drones that were part of Unimatrix Zero. They just took the whole fucking thing over. Like, he's like, yes, we are here to fight gloriously against the rest of the Borg. Like, well, that was quick and great. Thanks. Welcome.
I don't know what the math works out on this, and luckily Taryn's not around to subject me to the answer of
I
How the
don't
number
have. There isn't enough time on left before the sun burns out for Taryn to explain this answer.
it seems ridiculous, but okay, cool.
I
The episode's done worse things to me already, so I can get on board with this. I would have loved if Korok was someone that I was supposed to know. If this was a famous someone like a reoccurring character from DS9 or someone else that, died. We could have been
right.
struck to like, oh fuck, this guy died, and like have him make a triumphant return here, like, oh, fuck yeah, dude, like great,
Korak is pretty Chad like through his two appearances. He I just like the idea that he like woke up in his sphere and he's like fuck this and he just starts
Mhm.
unplugging everybody like you're people again now we're doing this
Yeah, install a steering wheel on this bitch. I'm at the helm.
like no one else was actually in Unimatrix Zero. He just started unplugging them and then using his Klingon manliness to
Mm-hmm.
like wake them back into usefulness.
Karok's chadliness comes from the fact he doesn't have jacked up teeth and he can talk without a slur.
Yeah, they removed that from part one. It was that summer break. They're like, just pull those out. Don't need them.
You have that in the dream state, but in reality, the Borg have a really great dental plan. So your implant was a retainer that has really fixed your teeth, and you're able to speak clearly now. So the dude shows up and says, "Hey, I'm on your side. Why don't we load the new virus into your main deflector dish, and then you will Care Bear stare that into another cheap Spencer's Gifts portal that we have hidden in our belly button."
So they start the attack run on the tactical cube, part 2. This time they've changed the codes so the Tuvok can't hack them.
Mm.
And the combined assault of one Starfleet vessel and one spicy Klingon sphere boy is apparently enough to overwhelm the shields on the tactical cube long enough for the Care Bear stare to be effective and
Now,
delete.
you've got this line between Janeway and the Borg Queen before this happens, where Borg Queen's really trying to put the zap on Janeway. You're going to do this, you're going to do that. And then Janeway drops a little zinger on her. I don't compromise with the Borg, which
Except when I explicitly decided to make a peace treaty with the Borg to assist them in defeating a mortal enemy themselves that I later made peace with, thus invalidating the entire reason for which I did that, allowing the Borg to continue to exist. But except for that one time, yes, no, I don't compromise with the Borg.
I think I hate Janeway.
I hate the way Janeway is written. I don't hate Janeway. I think Kate Mulgrew continues to do the best work she possibly can with this
Well,
character.
listen, I'm not saying I hate Kate Mulgrew. I'm saying I hate Janeway.
Okay, all right. I get it.
Janeway is portrayed like a bunch of pit bulls, and each pit bull is white, and someone has written on the side of the pit bull with a Sharpie marker, stupid, savage, compassionate, mean, dumb, coffee.
Coffee is a character trait for her.
And then they threw
It's
a fucking
true.
they threw a chew toy, and the dogs are just biting each other and trying to tear this fucking, and the chew toy is the script. And that's what you get with Catherine Janeway, is just a vicious dog fight between the most ridiculous concepts possible. So I don't compromise with the Borg, zingity doodah, and hey, now there's a sphere attacking you. There's some crazy shit going on. We got Seven of Nine, who is the subject material expert. She's busy off in the Matrix playing kissy face with her boyfriend. You got Neelix riding shotgun over in Tactical.
Yeah.
In the absence of Tuvok, the best tactical officer on Voyager is the cook. He truly is. He truly is the Steven Seagal under siege.
It's his only line in the episode is when he's at the tactical station. He has like 2 words that he says in the whole episode.
Well, hey, that's more than some people get.
That's why he's there. That's why he was there, by the way. Like, instead of it being Ayala, the entire, I mean, aside from we do have some background of that he's like a backup tactical guy that was like in Year of Hell. He like worked at Tactical or whatever.
He's the backup tactical guy who also is a memory backup of the tactical officer because
That's true. Has all of his knowledge actually in his brain. So like I get that, but the real reason he was there is because that they got to give Ethan Phillips a chance to say something, and so he says the two words in that spot rather than some extra.
here's what I want to make this battle a little bit more feasible, and also to remember what we did back in season sucks. Like, launch cyber warfare against the cube in its weakened state where you're like attacking its systems with viruses. I want to see these four Borg kids plugged into their alcoves with their eyes like rolling back in this rapid eye movement thing as like they're actively hacking the cube and bringing down defenses.
Yeah,
Like, Seven of Nine's participation in none of this, while she's more worried about kissing her boyfriend goodbye. The four super smart, hardwired children prodigies completely absent from a major Borg 2 episode plot arc is fucking ridiculous. Like, if you're gonna bring these Borg elements into play, like, do it the right way.
and one last positive thing I'll say about the episode is that when B'Elanna makes her reappearance, she is equipped with what may be the most powerful weapon we've ever seen on Star Trek ever. It's not just a space pipe, it's a Borg space pipe. Yes, indeed. When B'Elanna finally wakes up from the slap she got 30 minutes ago, she sees a drone at whatever station she needs to use and wields a mighty Borg space pipe to render it unconscious and then affect what is ultimately, I guess, an emergency beam out just before the Queen blows it up to try and prevent all of their escapes. And a cool explosion effect.
Praxis, I believe
Yeah,
it
it was
was.
like a Praxis style explosion with a wave, and there's like the two ships get caught and they like get rocked in it. It's actually a lot of detail to it, and the episode wraps with everyone being deborged. Tuvok's kind of having a rough time, but he'll make it. And Korak is off to start a Borg rebellion. He's like in touch with other ships that have been seized by Unimatrix Zero members. And they're like, all right, well, we'll try and keep in touch with them and see what happens.
We're gonna grab species 8472 and bring them back in the fight. And yeah, it's on. We're gonna do this thing.
Would you like to know what the end result of this plotline is?
Nothing.
You are correct. This is never mentioned ever again, except in passing in one piece of dialogue in a situation that does not matter and does not relate that anything changed in any way, shape, or form.
That's right on brand for Voyager.
We're starting season 7 with a banger.
What a trash.
What a waste. It's a waste. Cool. There's these cool ideas that they did have available to them. Borg Rebellion, the preservation of individuality in this
Seven's
matrix.
secret life, or an
Seven's
opportunity for Seven to have clean communications with her family or people that she cared about.
a little bit maybe more detail about the organization of the Borg. What is this queen? How like were they affected by what happened to them in First Contact?
The three
Is that
people involved being riddled with scars and mental baggage from what they have done, this traumatic fucking thing. Like, look how bad it fucked Picard up. And all three of these bounce out and they're like, yeah, I'm ready for coffee. My spine hurts. Thanks, doctor, for regrowing all of our hair within a matter of minutes after we were shaved bald and riddled with fucking implants eating up half my face. Like, no big deal. Take all the terrible things that the Borg represent and just sweep it all under the rug. It's just,
it's a crying shame because there was so much that this episode had to offer that were good ideas and it got buried by all the bad ones. Just completely buried.
Where is season 7 going to go from here? Like,
up. I am happy to say up.
looking back at season sucks, I don't know if there's any unifying theme I could really say we came out of that with. It really seemed like they just bumbled their way through or stumbled episode after episode, with Bran off getting things ready on Enterprise. And to be clear, like, I like Kenneth Bewilder, right?
Mm-hmm.
We call him Kenneth Bewilder because he has been responsible for the highest highs in Voyager and the most baffling, not necessarily lows,
But
in some cases,
just like absurd. Like
just what the fuck?
dirty Tuvok emotion, grinder hookups in the alley moments, like,
But
where is this coming from?
I am genuinely excited to see him at the helm, because when Bewilder's on his game, like, it's good. It's real good.
And let me give you some hope. I think literally the next 6 episodes are all bangers in a row.
Well, that is strong hope indeed. Speaking of which, from here we're going into season 7, episode 2, Imperfection, and I see 7 and 9, and I see Janeway in what looks like the Tuvok, the Tuvix Memorial Death Corner. 7 of 9's life is threatened when her cortical implant begins to degrade. Icheb wants to help her, but his proposition is very risky.
So, from a production note, this episode is super weird because apparently it was supposed to be, I think, 4th this season, and instead they showed it 2nd. So there's some things that end up feeling out of order in this particular episode that technically get introduced in the next episode, which is Drive.
Mm-hmm.
Not a deal breaker by any stretch, but kind of odd. Like, this is a mistake they made in season 7. Weird, right? Like, I understand you doing that at the beginning, but at the end, come on, guys. But second, this episode is a direct reference to Picard. Like, Picard ripped this, like, used this in the scene where Icheb showed up as an explanation of what was going on. As you recall, Icheb was getting dissected by someone trying to find his cortical implant. He didn't have one. And this is where this comes from, is this episode. This is amazing. This is going to make you hate Picard a ton. I don't know. It's like the fact that you had to see that awful shit before watching this. Like, you're gonna be like, man, this is great. But boy, oh boy, do I hate everyone involved with that episode of Picard now so much. But this one is actually fantastic. This is really, really good, and I look forward to reviewing it with you.
Well, I'm looking forward to it too.
All right. Well, thank you to all of you who have stuck with us all the way here to our launch into season 7 of Voyager. We hope we will continue to keep you entertained, and we'll see you next week when we review Perfection.